I want to talk about lubricants a bit. Mobius makes the most popular, I guess, wash lubricants. I got this for escapements. When I first started working on watches, I actually wasn't that detailed on lubrication. Since I don't actually use watches, my approach was to just lubricate basic points, and basically my watches are collection watches and they are stored, not used. So for example, having a high amplitude for a stored collection watch wasn't that important, but at this point I really want to when I service a watch, I really want to get the highest amplitude I can. So I started improving my lubrication game a bit. I'm actually also interested in mechanical keyboards, and I had these Krytox lubricants from those times. I sometimes use these on watches as well. Not the critical points, but for example, I use the 105 on metal to metal contact points, but it's actually a bit thick for that application. For example, I used it recently on reversal wheels. I made this tool to open reversal wheels, and I had this 105 Krytox oil. It seemed like viscosity wise it would be a good fit, but when you wind the watches, you actually feel the resistance a bit from that reversal wheel. So I got this 102 oil to find a good mix in between these two for that application. So basically my idea is that instead of using Mobius oils, you can actually see which Mobius oil is recommended for that application and target that viscosity mixing these Krytox oils. These Krytox oils were very popular because they are used on NASA space shuttles. So for mechanical watches as a hobby, they became very popular for that reason, and they are quite good lubricants. And one thing that bothers me with Mobius oil is their expiration date. But if you research, they say that it's mostly for marketing and mainly to remind people that these oils get thicker over time. But if you read about watchmaker experiences, it's actually not a fast process. So basically, they really don't need to have an expiration date. They could put a production date instead. Or, for example, if you look at their data sheets, it's actually has a lot of dimensions for these greases. For example, what was this grease marketed at? It says it's a thixotropic grease. So basically, for their greases, they target many different dimensions. So it's not just about lubricant viscosity, obviously, but I believe that just using Krytox lubricants, these PFP lubricants, could also yield good results. So for my personal watch, I want to try just servicing it with Krytox oils and see the amplitude, and maybe store it, let's say, for 2 years. So it has to be a long experiment. Service another watch with proper oils, and then let's say after 2 years, 3 years, compare how the lubricants degraded and how the amplitudes changed. But my theory is that using a substitute oil, quality lubricant like this one could actually yield good results as well. So these don't have expiration dates, that is good, and they seem to be quite inert. They don't stain anything. So overall, for anything I've used them for, they performed quite well. I researched about PFP lubricants. For example, I searched the keyword Ruby jewels and PFP lubricants, and I researched whether PFP lubricants have any erosive properties, but I couldn't find anything bad about them. And for people who use them, I didn't see anyone that has anything bad to say about this. For example, this is the 102 oil, and it's viscosity wise I think even thinner than the blue Moebius oil that's used for regular jewels. But there is a 100 version. It's quite thin and very low viscosity. For example, that one is used on another hobby. On what was that? Derby racer cars, and I actually got the 100 version too. And for a small quantity, the Derby racer hobby communities sell them. So they basically buy them in bulk, the big kilogram versions, and they are the ones that package it in small quantities, like the 105 and 102 version. So I'm really looking forward to that as well. If I was just doing it blind, I would probably use the 100 version on escapements and just lubricate everything there. But quite surprisingly, this one is quite a thick oil as well. I would expect that escapements to have a thin oil, but obviously there is a lot more research and development there. So the lubricant staying in its place is, I guess, their objective for this lubricant. So basically, what is the conclusion? No conclusion here. I'm just in love with these Krytox lubricants and just looking forward to using them on places where I don't have the proper Moebius grease or oils. Anyway, I guess this concludes this pointless video about lubricants. It's just an idea to, for example, if you don't have the means or opportunities like me to get proper lubricants. Turkey is currently a bit like Iran. It's very hard to import things. It's very hard to receive packages. There is a bit of an embargo going on. So instead of getting the correct grease, you could just try to get, let's say, 105 and 100 oil, and just by mixing these, maybe like a 207 as well, just by mixing these in different quantities, you can actually target pretty much any viscosity, and that could be better than nothing. Could be better than having things non-lubricated. So this should conclude the video, I guess. Thank you for watching. I don't know what the next video is going to be about. Probably another manufacturing video.